Welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, Captain Logan, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today, so tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we're going to be talking about the Sea of Thieves 2022 preview event that we had back on the 27th of January. I'm going to be breaking down the video and talking about some of the things that I think we can expect thanks to the roadmap that we got, as well as a bunch of other stuff going on. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. But before we get into any of that, I have to thank the patrons that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast and signed up to support me as far as the podcast goes. So I wanted to shout out and thank El Cute, Captain Hasco, Chateau Neuf, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Jamie, Trickster, Jabaro5, Kazia the Rogue, King Flameheart, Lumpy SRQ, Okarian Darth, Dub Goose, Evil Morpheus, Xbox Mike 29, Munchie, Registella, Russ Bell Kid, Savage Hamster, Norwegian, TN Professor, Real Big Tuna, Uriel Canes, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Super Pack, Music Me, The Lore Chronologist, Deadeye Dre, Fergatron, Murphy Lives, Neon, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Skinny Matt, Straw Hat Connor, Thor Von Blitz, Void, Windsor Chris, and Zam Wow. Thank you all so much for your support. It means the world to me, and I can't thank you enough for everything that you're doing for the podcast. So thank you so much for that. It's been an interesting week over on the Sea of Thieves. We've had a lot of folks talk about how upset they were with Arena being deleted, and a lot of folks jumping into Arena to try and knock out some of those last commendations before they're gone to try and get those Pirate Legend weapons. I wanted to get a couple of the achievements that I wanted done that were the easier ones, like sitting in the hot tub or playing music together on the stage, just to play some of those. So I did jump in, play some more Arena. I can definitely say that I am still glad that Arena is being closed down. After playing a few matches, there's a latency that's tacked on to Arena that is just really weird. I'm not sure why, but I think it's just kind of the degradation of the mode, not really getting attention, so it's not quite as snappy as Adventure. But overall, it always felt like with the mode that we were playing, there was always at least 2 to 3 ships that just were not participating in the standard mode. There was always like 1 or 2 ships, maybe 3, that would be super sweaty, and it would be a race to try and get, to the top in that case, and the rest would all head over to the fort and just start killing each other and doing TDM. So it's kind of a mixed bag right now, and I'm glad that people are working on it. It's seen a lot of renewed joy for people being able to get those knocked out now that they know that they need to get that done. And it's kind of a bummer because you would hope that with it leaving in March that you would hope that people would have played this beforehand, that they would have gotten their time in there. But this really does kind of speak to what I genuinely think is just the fact that this mode has served its purpose. I wanted to talk a little bit before I dived into the preview event about Arena. We had a really good discussion with it, and one of the topics that I haven't really heard talked about too much is it being a core part of the mode and it being removed. And I wanted to talk a little bit about why I think Arena needs to go now. And I think that's because back when the game first came out, we were leading into the first year, and everyone was kind of rushing to try and get the first year of content done. It was completely brand new. They scrapped all their plans, and they worked on the Hungering Deep, the Cursed Sails, the Forsaken Shores, and then they were working on the Arena, but the Arena wouldn't be in time. So they went with, they had Shrouded Spoils kind of be the the last thing that they were going to do. When Arena came out, what Arena did was really try to kind of give players an opportunity for a more competitive mode that was shorter, that offered quicker sessions to jump in and play when you didn't have time to set sail for a full voyage. When you get in, it used to be 24 minutes or one full day. There would be multiple islands with multiple maps, Plus, everyone got the same map and everyone knew where the X's were. There were no beacons on the X's, but you could go and dig up the chests. And if you went and dug up the chests, you could either hide them or stash them on your ship. And it was up to you and the other 5 crews to decide how you were going to play the game. Were you going to hunt down other people? Were you going to go for chests? Were you going to try and steal chests? Things like that. Things that I think tucking would have been a much interesting more idea of a mode or a mechanic or a play style had that arena mode persisted. So we never got truly like a full fleshed out arena. We never got different modes. We never had brigs integrated into the mode. We tested out the ability to have multiple types of ships, but that didn't work out for some reason. And eventually they just kind of pared down arena to 1 or 2 chests that had a beacon. You knew exactly where they were, and you would go after the ships that had them or try and turn in the chests themselves. And it just didn't become quite as fun. Well, what happened since then was that Rare continued to work on adventure. They continued adding quality of life changes, additional content, and eventually they started getting to the point where they had a healthy rotation of different types of world events, and they were enabling players to be able to get supplies and quests quicker, both with the bulletin boards with the messages in the bottle. Then they came out with shrines. They came out with different voyage types for the different trade companies, and they gave us storage crates as well as commodity crates. We were able to purchase supplies right off the bat. We were able to gather supplies quicker, and because of that, it's now a lot easier to go around and get what you need to get on a voyage. With the Barrel 2.0 system, we're no longer relegated to just the standard 100 bananas, 100 planks, and 300 cannonballs for ships anymore. Now we can have just about anything that we can carry on our ship at any given time and organize it however we want. So the enrichment of adventure has done the things that it needed to do and gotten to the state where people now have a lot more freedom and a lot quicker access, not only to the voyages and to the gold and to other players, but additionally the quality of life features with supplies and being able to get your ship in order and get it set up to go on a voyage quicker. We have quicker access to tall tales. Now there's now portals everywhere around the outposts. When you spawn in, you have a full 5 set of tall tales that you can log into right off the bat. So the story is made accessible through that as well too. So when you look at what the goal of Arena was, well, Arena was intended to have a competitive mode for events, say like Guardian Con or let's see, E3, PAX, things like that. They used to go to a lot of those conventions and have different competitions. Well, thanks to Coconut Fever, that has no longer been a thing. Conventions are now done online, so there's not really a good reason to take the team and ship them out somewhere to go to a different convention. Take a bunch of rowboats or some of the statues from the studio and go have some good rare competitions on Microsoft's bill. And unfortunately, because of that, paired with the idea that a lot of the quality of life features and a lot of the content that's come to adventure has really removed the need for a quick drop in and go type of gameplay style, there's not as much need for what Arena was trying to do. As we get into 2022 or hashtag SOT22, if you watch the video, then we can kind of see what they're looking to do. They're looking to try and build out seasons. Now that they've had a year's worth of experience with seasons and they have a gauge on how long it should take for people to complete them, what type of events people are looking to have with them, and they've gotten some of this stuff out and worked out some of the kinks, they now have a better understanding of how they want to go forward with their seasons. And I think this is going to be a lot better for the game overall. It's going to feel a lot more like your traditional season-based games. And again, I always feel like I go back to this, but Destiny 2 is probably the best. There's a reason why Sony bought them. They are currently probably the best when it comes to releasing story-based content with cosmetics and incentive to log on in a regular basis. A lot of their stuff is I would say bloated as far as trying to min-max your characters when you're playing it, but thanks to a game like Sea of Thieves where you don't have power levels, everyone is at the same level, you can really kind of focus in on a couple things: reputation and renown, ledger position and cosmetics, gold, and fun. Those are probably like the 5 or 6 things that you would want to worry about when you're getting into Sea of Thieves. What's the story like? How can you have fun? How can you make some gold? And then make sure that you're working your way through the seasons and the ledgers. And with that, I think they've done a good job. So let's start breaking down some of this preview event so we can get you an idea of what came with the preview event and why I think this is definitely going to be a year to rival a year that came in 2021, where we had an entire 5 new tall tales centered around Pirates of the Caribbean.
Come to join me, crew lad. Welcome aboard.
So we're going to be breaking down a couple things that they did talk about in this video right off the bat, and that's going to be adventures and mysteries. Mike Chapman sat down to talk about adventures, which are going to be a story-driven live event that's going to be about 2 weeks, and it's going to happen each month. So expect at least 2 weeks out of each month to be dedicated to some of the stuff that's going on. There's going to be multiple chapters within these adventures, and they're going to use these to try and tell an overarching story over the course of a season. This is something where I'm excited to see that Lorena is going to be a lot more active. She's going to have a lot more voice dialogue, and we're going to start getting some cinematics and stuff to kind of break down some of the stuff that we saw. In the video right off the bat, we've already seen that they are going to be doing some stuff that's going on with Golden Sands Outpost, and we're going to be talking a little bit more about that when they give a little bit of a sneak peek later in the video, talking about what the first adventure is going to be going around. One of the things that I did see in the video that I thought was kind of interesting is a character was fighting a phantom, but the phantom looked like it was actually from the Reaper's Bones hideout. It looked like they had the mask with the hood, and it didn't seem like that made a whole lot of sense, considering that the characters that we've seen so far dealing with phantoms are pirate spirits that are coming through the veil between Sea of the Damned and Sea of Thieves, and we've been fighting them as opposed to anyone that represents a specific trade company like the Reaper's Bones. One of the interesting things that I found out about these adventures is that while these are only lasting 2 weeks and there's going to be 3 within a season, at the end of each season there's going to be a finale, and this was kind of represented by a look at the Golden Sands Outpost, the one where it had been attacked and everyone had boarded up their shops, and there was a small mysterious compass that you picked up that would eventually take you on a journey leading you to whatever it was. It's one of the interesting things that Mike talked about was that the community is going to be responsible for the outcome of this story, and that people will be able to take on different sides. They didn't say what sides that you would be able to help take. I'm sure that's going to vary based on where the story is being taken, but it definitely kind of talked about how this is going to be something that is either Flameheart or Pirate Lord based. It seems like the Reapers and the Pirate Lords are going to be 2 factions that we've been asking for some sort of bout between. I've been asking why the Pirate Lord has been so complacent with all the stuff that's been going on in the Sea of Thieves. I was told that that was not going to be the case for forever, and that Ramses was definitely going to be having a more direct influence on what happens. And we've been seeing that there's been more change going on again and again with the Reaper's hideout, as well as not the Reaper's hideout, but with Flameheart, and having that story progress forward with the orb stream that we got back in December. And as a result of what we're doing in the world, it seems like this is how it's going to impact what happens in the world. So if things change, it's probably going to be directly related to how we interact with it. So it'll be really interesting to see where the community goes. My main concern, of course, is if this is something that is going to be impacted by either gold turned in or actions taken. If it's actions taken, I like that approach more because it's less swayed swayed by whatever Alliance servers are out there doing, because Alliance servers will always kind of go for how much gold they can make per hour and less about what actually will be the reason why players will want to come and actually interact with the world. So I'm hoping that it's more activity based, and we did see a little bit of that so far. So on some of the video that we've seen from this this trailer was that there are going to be these spectral lanterns or braziers, and the braziers themselves are going to be something, these beacons that you can light with the flame of fate, I think is just the green flame that you get from the Sea of the Damned. And based on that, you will fight oncoming enemies, I would assume, or take on different events or challenges and stuff. And it looks like these are going to be things that happen around at different islands. Now, we already know about Golden Sands Outpost being one of the center points for this. The other one that we saw in the video was Shipwreck Bay, which is interesting given just how much happens at Shipwreck Bay as it is. It's already a site for a tall tale. It's a near location for a shrine. There's also the Grey Morrow stuff that can happen there as well. So a lot going over on Shipwreck Bay, I think, because maybe it is a more centralized location as opposed to, say, something like Old Faithful, which seems to be pretty out in the way for a lot of stuff. So a lot of history, a lot of magic going on over on Shipwreck Bay. So that kind of makes sense. Until we know more, we won't really find out exactly what's going to be going on as far as the adventures go, but we do know that that is starting on, I believe, the 17th of February and going till March 3rd. So really excited to see how that's going to turn out. I'm just really happy the fact that we're actually going to be getting story on a regular basis. This was something that they've wanted to do. This was something that they tried out in the second year of Sea of Thieves when we were told that we were going to be getting monthly cadences. We started getting some of that in the form of the different voyages. The mercenary voyages came out, and we started getting most of those, and then we started getting the bilge rat voyages later. It's been something that they are constantly kind of working on and trying to figure out what the best method of delivery is. I feel like the seasons gives them the best way to plan out for this, a good time frame and a steady cadence. The biggest trouble right now is not necessarily what comes with the actual story or the telling of it, but really just the server stability and the issues that are going on with making sure that matchmaking is working and things like that. There's a lot going on with the game right now. They're trying to make sure that they are getting things fixed so that come this anniversary update, hopefully with the new adventure that we're going to be getting, as well as the removal of arena, that things will hopefully start to kind of become more stable. That's the hope. I know they're working really hard to try and get these things under control, and we're going to be getting a podcast on the 11th of February from the devs themselves addressing some of these key topics and what's going on. Hopefully we will get some substantial information about what we can expect on fixes for these, as well as them talking more about like why these things are happening, what's causing them, what players can or may be able to do to try and help dissuade this. I would love to understand like what causes these issues and things like that, because it seems like it is definitely on a monthly basis, if not on a week by week issue, where something is crawled up as a result of these server stability issues. So I'm hoping that with next week's episode, we'll get the podcast from them. We'll be able to kind of hear what they have to say, and then be able to interpret based on that what we can expect and how realistic some of the things that they talk about are going to be for us to see some changes in the world in the near future. Next, let's talk about mysteries. Joe Neat joined us on the preview event to talk about mysteries. This was a really cool thing to kind of get an idea of what's going to be going on with the game when it comes to social media. We've already seen some of this in the past, so it's not anything that we're unfamiliar with. If you've been following any situation where, or any content creator out there making content for Sea of Thieves, we've been talking about this for a while with the runes. We've been talking about this with the different Twitter posts, as well as the Instagram photos that they've been sending out that have been hiding different symbols that mean different things. We're going to be seeing a lot more as far as these ARGs go out. So, and if you're not familiar with an ARG, the Wikipedia basically says that it's an alternate reality game, which is basically using the real world as opposed to the video game to convey a story or storytelling through different means of media, whether it be different social media platforms, through physical things that they sell. It's mostly through videos and social media for the most part, but these are all things that can be impacted by the actual players or the community in this sense. So whatever we figure out, and there's a lot of people that are staying on top of this and keeping very good logs about this to try and make sure that anything that gets posted is kind of recorded and then sussed out. We try and break down the details of it and look for things as we skim images. And I know James over on the social media team, I think, was the one that was kind of heading up the skeleton runes. So I know that a lot of folks have been enjoying how that kind of breaks down. I try to cover that stuff once everyone's kind of worked it out, if I haven't worked it out myself, to try and make sure that I'm keeping you up to date with that kind of information as well, because as they are working on these mysteries, they are going to be telling story to try and let us know what the future of the Sea of Thieves is going to be like. So while we're working on stuff that is currently being told to us, the mysteries are going to help clue in what we can expect in the future. Next up on today's docket, let's dive into a look into the next season 6's content. This is one that I think is going to be huge, actually. I'm very excited to see how this goes. I think this is going to really kind of take place during the 4th year anniversary of Sea of Thieves, and I think it's going to add a lot of stuff that a lot of people have been looking forward to. So right off the bat, let's talk about Seaforts. Seaforts are these structures. There's going to be 6 of them around the world. There's going to be 3 different themes, and they're going to be brought in as a result of memories from the Sea of the Damned. So the 3 themes you can expect correlate to the different seas that we have in the game, with the wilds, the ancient isles, and the shores of plenty. The wilds are going to be something that is more of a prison themed. Abandoned forts are going to be reclaimed by nature. Those are going to be in the shores of plenty, from what I understand. And then the standard forts are the Spanish style ones that are in the ancients. I don't have those last 2 in for sure, because they kind of didn't specify what seas those were going to be in, but when they did show the Spanish forts, those were next to Plunder Valley, which is in the ancient seas. So I'm assuming that the Spanish forts are going to be in there. I'm kind of wondering if maybe they're going to split up the abandoned forts and the Spanish forts, maybe mix them too, because I know that there are definitely some Spanish forts or some structures, say like on Wanderer's Refuge, that would kind of correlate to those structures being built up in the past for there. But there's also some overgrown nature with places like the Devil's, or I would say more like Cannon Cove, or Thieves Haven would be better to talk or to speak to the abandoned forts that have been reclaimed by nature. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of those are mixed and that the prison themed ones are relegated to the wilds. The design of these is intended to really speak to content that is less of a world event, something that you can find out in the world. There's going to be set locations, very much like treasuries or shrines. When they are active, they're not something that people will be able to notice easily. You'll probably have to be near them to realize that they're actually active, and they're designed to be for single player or small crew experiences. So galleons could probably still do those, but definitely the way that the Seaforts look is they're intended to try and give someone an opportunity to do something in Sea of Thieves that isn't going to be subject to a big thing in the sky pointing at it and saying, hey, let's go PvP PvP for this PvE loot, which I like. I like that they're willing to give players that like the more PvE focused content and experience. And even with one of the Spanish style forts that was over by Plunder Valley, you could see that you could actually row a rowboat into the fort itself. There was a gate that was active. I think when the forts are active, you'll be able to see the turrets lit up. You'll be able to see the braziers lit around it, and that will kind of be its subtle indication that the fort is occupied. So when you go over there, you could either drop someone off with a rowboat or hide your ship at a bigger island, say down by what would be a good one, Discovery Ridge. You could hide your ship over there, take a rowboat over to the Seafort, and then go work on the Seafort, load up everything in the rowboat, and either take it to Plunder Outpost or take it back to your ship and sail over to someplace to go turn it in. Things like that. I like the idea that they're trying to build content that caters to single player experiences, things that will give single players or single sloops more opportunity to take advantage of event-like systems outside of trying to need like a big crew to be able to do like a treasury or a fort or what are some of the other ones, like a flame heart, things like that. So an Ashen Winds event. So having Seaforts helps try and cater to the varied crew size for this. Not to say that galleons can't really take advantage of that. I'm sure they would probably just finish it up faster than a single player crew. What are you going to be fighting in these is probably the next best question to answer, and it's going to be phantoms with a sea fort captain. So imagine a mini fort or a mini raid kind of situation where you're going to be working your way through this sea fort. This is a concept that I think a lot of MMO players are very comfortable with. We're used to going into dungeons and working our way through a bunch of trash mobs, I should say, to get to the actual boss and then kill the boss for the sake of the loot. In this instance, we're taking hints of that, and they're giving us enemies that we'll have to defeat as we work our way further and further through these sea forts to get to the sea captain to be able to clear it out and get the treasury loot from there. I really love the look of this. They've done something where they've taken a common structure and they've engineered it so that they understand that there are going to be larger areas where you can have fights take place with choke points, so that much like with the fort doors on a standard skeleton fort, you can use those as kind of a bottleneck for skeletons. I think that will be the same case for these sea forts as well. So I love that they're taking some time to really kind of decorate these. This has always been one of the things about Sea of Thieves that I think has always been lacking in that pirate aesthetic. Is we've always had structures, and they've done a really good job of the few wooden structures that we've had on outposts being very well decorated. But now that we're getting some of these larger structures coming in from the memories of the Sea of Thieves or the Sea of the Damned, we'll be able to see like an idea of what would these look like if they were inhabited by people back in the day. And we'll actually get a little bit more of a look of like, you know, what a proper fort should look like when we get to them. And I'm really excited for this. I really think that these are going to be fun. I think that they're going to serve as a good way to drop in and drop out of play for Sea of Thieves, especially like myself. If you like to jump on for a little bit and just go grab some treasure and then, you know, take it over and sell it and then not have to spend like another 3 or 4 hours on the seas. If you just want to drop in and drop out, it's one of the few things that I do when I'm playing. Anytime I have like an urge to jump on and do some gaming, I always think about the couple games that I can jump in real quick, do a couple things, and then be done with it. So Destiny 2, Heroes of the Storm, you know, Halo multiplayer, things like that are great for me to just get that like that feeling of like, you know, I want to grab a controller, I want to hop on the computer, and I just want to get something competitive knocked out. And having a sea fort like that, I think would be a great way, because just looking at here, I can already tell that they've got some barrels set up, some ammo crates set up, so that you don't necessarily have to get stocked up the way you used to back in the first year to really kind of do any kind of event. You feel like you can get most of what you want out of these right as you head up to it, and you don't necessarily have to stock up a lot. I think one of the really cool things that we found out as a result of this video too is the explanation for these Seaforts. Hearing that they're coming from memories of pirates from the Sea of the Damned, knowing that that will be explained through the lore is really kind of exciting. It's clear that they have a plan for how this is going to play out. In the video, they do talk about how Pirate Legends are going to be getting new content. We're finally going to be getting a bunch of new voyages. They say that the voyages are going to be repeatable, but they're not going to be the same. I would take that with a grain of salt. As much as I love them, I do think that eventually people will start to notice some sort of repetition, even if they have some sort of system involved to try and cycle through very different tasks. The way, like, no merchant animal crate voyage is going to be the same. You're going to run into varying types that you need to do and varying quantities and stuff that you have to do. But looking at what they're talking about here, this is really interesting because back during the orb stream, we found out that there was a thing called the Veil of Ancients, or a masked Veil of Ancients, a mask of veiled ancients. We're not quite sure, or I can't quite recall what the exact name is. We saw a firework that kind of depicted that. And then with the orb stream, we actually saw the mask itself next to a Reaper's chest. Now, as we see this video, we find out that much like the Shroud Breaker, this is a magical relic that we are going to be adding gemstones to, very similar to the Shroud Breaker. Instead of us having it mounted on our ship and then adding a stone to it, we always just took the stone to someone and then they put it into the Shroud Breaker until the very end of the Tall Tales for the original 9, where we got the Shroud Breaker for the 9th one as we sailed to the shores of gold. In this case, Rare is building upon the technology that they had for a pirate's life, in which case you will be using the Veil of Ancient Masks, or the ancient. You know what? I'm going to pause the podcast. I'm going to look this up because it's bugging me. Okay, I looked it up. It's Veil of the Ancients. It's a mask that is in the game when this update comes out, and we'll be adding gemstones to it. And then as we add a gemstone to it, what that will do is it will have a character, most likely the Pirate Lord, but I would not be surprised if we started to see other characters, probably Belle, or maybe Gloria could come back since she's a Revenant as well, and just an opportunity to have that character that is tied to the voyage through this story quest joining us on our voyage, much in the same way that Jack was a ghost or a person, depending on when you did those stories, joining us on the actual voyage to what we're working on. So we're seeing some interesting stuff with this video, stuff that's not really explained, like when you put a crystal in the veil, the pirate lord shows up on your boat. We're also hearing Mike talk about going through different voyages as far as like exploring shipwrecks out in the ocean. I think that'll be really great. That's always something that I know a lot of us have enjoyed, is kind of swimming through a bunch of different wrecks throughout the world and stuff. And we also see these weird kind of Sea of the Damned looking statues. These statues look like they are based on the ancients because of the pedestal and the clothing and the design that they have. And they're kind of emanating this pulse of green glow throughout the world. And it doesn't really explain what these are, but it is clear that the reason we are seeing these is because of the ferryman's lantern that the pirate is holding up. So the pirate is holding up the ferryman's lantern very much in the same way that Seabound Soul had us walking around uncovering secrets with the ferryman's lantern to find out what happened to the different ships. Also, I think it was the fate of the Morning Star when we originally exhumed the ferryman's curse, or ferryman's body. It took the lantern from that body and then walked around to find out what happened to the crew of the Morning Star. I'm glad that we're going back to using this. This was something I remembered. I talked to Mike specifically about how I loved this nature of uncovering secrets of the past using this around the world, and that I was bummed out that we didn't have the, or that we just had this for the Old Faithful Island. They then used it for the Seabound Soul, and I told him I was always loving the idea of, wouldn't it be cool if for Briggsy's past, before she was cursed, she was one of the people that had skewered a kraken at Crooked Masts, and her ship sank there, but she also killed the kraken. And if you go over there, you can actually see the remains of the kraken that was pierced by Briggsy's ship, and that is a part of history that we don't get to experience. But wouldn't it be cool if we had the ferryman's lantern and we could see that through the past, through these shadows, these specters, and be able to experience things that happened before we got there with the ferryman's lantern, to kind of see into the past through these echoes using the fate of flames. So things like that, I feel like they are starting to implement with the story, and it's really exciting to see that, because it's something that I've wanted to do. I've wanted to see, how the world progressed, or how the world is going to progress, or things that might have happened, especially with the ancients and how mysterious they are. We don't know much about them, and I think that's going to play a big part in the telling of stories as we get further and further into this next year, into this fourth year, to see just exactly what role they played when the Sea of Thieves was being created. Are they responsible for the shroud? We don't know, but that could be something that we find out. We also found out that the first mystery, as far as I can recall, is going to deal with uncovering the death of a character that is very beloved in Sea of Thieves. Now, there's been an interview that went out with Joni and Miles Dompierre, who is from Windows Central. He had Joe on for his Chatterday episode, and they talked about how Mike Chapman at one point suggested that they kill off Shelly the Crab. This was, or Leonardo da Pincio, I think, was Captain J's name for him, but Shelly seems to be the one that everyone goes with, or is at least canonical from the studio themselves. So Mike had said that it would have been an interesting turn to actually kill off Shelly, which I know would be just as heartbreaking as everyone realizing that Duke was actually a Dark Lord the whole time, except for me. I would be bummed out if Shelly was killed, so I don't think that is the route that they're going to take. But the working theory that I have right now is that with Belle being a character that is coming in from the Sea of the Damned and having a history with Ramses, to the point where she basically tells him to sit down and not worry about what's going to happen, she's going to take care of everything like Mary Poppins, then I think we are going to find out exactly how Ramses ended up with both the gunshot wound to his gut and the 3 daggers that are in his back, because I do think that there is a very interesting story to be told about why there are 3 daggers in Ramses' back that have never been mentioned. And I think that is the mystery that we are going to be slowly uncovering for this murder mystery that they're bringing to the game. And I love the idea of this too. I think it's great that they are kind of telling us little bits of story. It's almost like they went and saw Knives Out and thought, like, what would be a good way for us to reveal some of the history in Sea of Thieves? And they thought, well, wouldn't it be cool if we had like a Nancy Drew or a kind of Inspector Gadget style, or not Inspector Gadget, that's probably a bad reference, but having a murder mystery like uncover in the Sea of Thieves to kind of give us an idea. We had some of these mysteries kind of presented to us, but they've always been a little removed from where we had the agency to be able to uncover some of this information. Like when we found out about the mysterious stranger, we didn't really have a way to impact it. We were impacting it in a sense that she was a turn-in point for treasure, but that didn't really, like, there wasn't really a sense of like, we feel the progression of this outside of stuff would change and we would always be catching up. We'd always be a step behind. With a murder mystery, it feels like we will have an opportunity to have us progress the story the way that they are planning to reveal that. based on how quickly we're able to reveal stuff. So I'm very curious to see like how quickly we can kind of get to the answers that we're looking for based on the ARGs that they're setting up for us, and how will that affect things in the game based on their trajectory for these seasons. It did feel like one of the things that is coming with these Pirate Legend voyages is they are going to be touching on what I talked about a little bit before, which was the haunted islands, which I love the idea of these haunted islands. Sea of Thieves has such a good job, or does such a good job at creating these atmospheres in these islands, and having some of these kind of deserted islands with the creepy music, especially on like Reaper's hideout. They can really set the tone for certain things, and you feel that when you go certain places too. So having things like haunted islands, something that I know harkens back to the bald lady at Crook's Hollow. Yeah, Crook's Hollow back in the day was such a fun thing that was going around in the Sea of Thieves community that was completely fabricated by all of us. Like we all kind of like built that up to be what it was. So the fact that they're pulling things like that and slowly starting to integrate it into the future of Sea of Thieves really does speak to just how connected Sea of Thieves' desire, or Rare's desire, to have Sea of Thieves be something that is an expression of the community to come to the future of the game when they're actually planning it out in the future. And I love that they're taking that kind of stuff into account, because plenty of us have had tons and tons of ideas that we've shared with the devs. And I know from at least my perspective, I'm seeing things that I've talked to the devs about that is starting to kind of come to the game. And it's not necessarily the exact thing that I said, but it's definitely stuff that I've talked about, that they saw some little bit that would have been cool if they could use that and then put it in there. So while I can't sit there and point to things as cued in like Duke and say like, oh, that was my idea, I can definitely say like, oh, I'm glad that the idea that I shared 3 years ago is being brought to the game in a way that seems like something that I might have been able to have some influence in, which as a regular person, just a guy that plays video games, being able to have that feeling is it's invaluable. It's amazing to think that I've had any kind of influence on a video game at all, but to see these things kind of come through and know that Rare is willing to trust their community with these kind of opportunities, it's really awesome. Like the Pirate Legends now, the Pirate Legends of the game, the ones that have been around, the ones that we've been kind of resting on our laurels because there hasn't really been anything for us. We are finally getting an opportunity to really kind of live up to that name. We are going to be the ones that are responsible for the world changing as it is. Our actions are going to be the thing that actually determines what happens to these haunted islands, what happens in the future of Sea of Thieves. And to have that responsibility on the Pirate Legends really does kind of speak to the trust of Rare. Now, I will say that I am waxing poetic here, because I am assuming that as a company, the company has to make things interesting. They have plans, they have expectations, and they are gauging a certain margin of error for a lot of this. So things may change, we may impact things, but don't expect us to be able to change like the number of ships on a server, or a man of war coming to the game, or working doors on the galleon, things like that. You know, just expect that in certain areas of the world during a certain time, areas will change as a result of our actions. And I would not be surprised if they revert back or progress further in the future, depending on how people like it. I think a lot of that is going to be determined by the community's actions as a whole, not the small number of influencers in the community that play on a regular basis. So the one concern I have always comes back to now the fact that Alliance servers are a thing, and that they do kind of change up how things happen in the world. I hope that they don't influence too much, and I hope that Rare is taking a look at how that, where they can kind of find, how much gold is being done, what things are being done, and then try and segregate that from the way the game is impacted based on the story stuff, especially with the Pirate Legend content. Cupid works hard in February, but our friends at Manscaped are working harder than ever to ensure your Valentine's Day is one to remember. Don't turn this day of romance into Independence Day this year and get in control with their Performance Package 4.0, which includes their signature Lawnmower 4.0. This February, join the 4 million men worldwide who trusted Manscaped with our exclusive offer. Go to manscaped.com and use the code Keelhauled for 20% off and free shipping. Contrary to popular belief, love is not blind when you can't see past the love jungle. So I've been using their products, which was provided to them for a couple weeks now, and I gotta say, we're definitely not pirates. So if you have a sword at home and you've been trying to do this stuff with a sword, that's a bad idea. Don't do that. We're not living in the golden age of piracy anymore. You don't have to use a sword for this sort of stuff. In fact, you don't even have to use a razor blade. In fact, you probably shouldn't even be using the trimmer that you're using now. You should probably pick up one of these ones because I've been using it for 2 weeks. I like this. I ditched my other razor blade and my trimmer because they pale in comparison to these things. These things quality, the build that they give you is nice. I've never had an inductive charging razor trimmer in my entire life that I can actually use near water and not have to worry about it freaking out on me because I'm like near water or anything. So that's really cool. But yeah, not living in the past, living in the future. If you're not taking care of yourself, you're not only are you doing a disservice to your own ego, but you're really doing a disservice to your loved ones. And especially with February 14th coming up right around the corner, why not serve those by better serving yourself, in my opinion. So definitely, I'm going to read you some talking points real quick because I want to make sure I hit the verbatim stuff that they like. And yeah, gonna talk about those. But yeah, overall, really surprised at how good the build stuff is. Like I did not expect how good quality the products are going to be. I was anticipating lesser quality. Man, really surprised by that. So cool stuff. I like it. I like it. It's good. You should get it. The Performance Package 4.0 will leave you with more dating app notifications than Cupid has arrows. This lovely bundle comes equipped with the best tools needed when freshening up for a night on the town. Inside the Performance Package 4.0, you'll find the signature Lawnmower 4.0. This electric trimmer is designed to trim hair on loose skin. The advanced skin-safe technology reduces cuts and nicks on your delicate nuts. It also comes equipped with a 4000 LED spotlight that's bright enough to shine a light to your true love this year. Confucius says, "Education breeds confidence." So it's time you get educated on the ultimate grooming routine for all your areas of romance this year. This package also includes the Weed Whacker, nose and ear hair trimmer to whack all the worst of your weeds. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts, their Shed Travel Bag and anti-chafing boxer briefs to keep your boys cool and collected. Let's not just focus on your southern regions for this time of year. The Manscaped Refined Cologne is the cherry on top for the perfect date package. It offers a masculine yet light scent that will leave your ladies speechless. For extra freshness, the Performance Package also includes Manscaped's liquid formulations like the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner. This deodorant works wonders out of the shower, while the toner is perfect on-the-go weapon that is designed to keep your goods smelling wonderful all day and all night long. Manscaped has you covered this Valentine's Day. Get yourself the gift that you and your date will both appreciate. Go to manscaped.com for our exclusive offer of 20% off and free shipping with the code Keelhauled. Remember, you can't buy love, but you can buy a clean pair of balls. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Keelhauled at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code Keelhauled. Help tame the love jungle you have in your pants with Manscaped. All right, you guys have hung out for a good while hearing me talk about what we can expect with season 6, some of the theories behind that, and what we can expect going into the next few months. But this was kind of a big update because, believe it or not, we actually got the first roadmap that we've ever gotten since the first year. The first year was a roadmap that gave us Hungering Deep, Curse Sails, Tall Tales, or not Tall Tales, Forsaken Shores. We had an idea that they wanted to go about having build rat updates every couple weeks, or between the big updates to kind of keep people engaged with the game. And this is the first time that we've had that. it's hard to make a roadmap because things always change. Plans always work out or always work out differently than you expect. And there's always going to be complications. There may be attention that gets drawn away from content, and things may have to get pushed out or changed or cut as a result of that. So putting a 1 year roadmap out there for players sets an expectation. And when that expectation isn't met, it really does kind of rub the community the wrong way. They really have a hard time letting go of it. And if you don't believe me, go back and watch a video about the exploration of what Sea of Thieves is, and listen to the conversation or the discussion around captaincy nowadays and how people still have expectations for what captaincy is and what it's going to entail. Because for a long time, people have had these expectations. They want this stuff, and it hasn't been delivered on because things change. And ever since the game launched, they've had to rework everything that they planned on doing. So kudos to the team for feeling confident enough in the next year to be able to speak to what's going to be coming down the line with season 6, season 7, season 8, and season 9, with season 6 launching in March, season 7 launching in June, season 8 launching in September, and then season 9 launching in December. So with season 6, here are the main bullet points, and these are going to be things that we can expect on a regular basis. So I will cover some of these in length and some of these not in length. So with season 6, we're going to be getting Seaforts and Pirate Legend content. We're going to be getting the additional voyages for Pirate Legends, like I talked about, and the mini raids that are the Seaforts, along with 3 new adventures. And bear in mind, those are going to be 2 weeks in length, one happening each month. A new mystery is going to begin, and that is going to be the murder of a beloved character that we will uncover the death behind. Monthly Emporium content, new plunder pass, and community day. So community day was not just something that happened at the end of January. That is something that is going to happen with each season. Then we move into the next season, season 7. And season 7 launching in June of 2022 is going to give us new ways to play and progress. I'm excited for this because this speaks again to them having one season dedicated to new content, having the next season dedicated to new ways to play. Then we get into 3 new adventures. Again, that's going to be 2 weeks each during each month of that season. We're going to have ongoing mysteries that will continue to unravel more and more of what's going on, and it will probably continue to delve into the stuff that we've already been teased with, both with Duke and the Dark Brethren Court, as well as Wanda and the stuff going on with Golden Sands Outpost, as well as Flameheart and the potential for Flameheart Jr. coming to the Sea of Thieves, maybe even getting into some other stuff in the future that we haven't really discussed or had a real kind of set notion on what's going on, especially with things like the Grand Maritime Union. We will have season 7 will bring obviously new monthly Emporium content, as well as the new Plunder Pass and another community day. Those last 3 are going to be things that we'll see on every single season, so I'll skip out on talking about those for the next 2 seasons. Then we move into season 8. And season 8 is going to launch in September of 2022. This is going to have expanded roleplay and quest types. So we've already had different quest types with each of the different trade companies. With Gold Hoarders, we now have vaults. With Order Souls, we now have fleets. With merchants, we now have the shipwrecked voyages. And with Pirate Legends, we're going to have the repeatable voyages that are offered there. Arena is getting shut down, so we don't have anything adding to the Sea Dogs. So the only thing we really have will be tied to Hunter's Call. That'll be the last company that doesn't have any kind of expansion outside of Reaper's Bones. But I think Reaper's is an interesting one because I don't think that because we don't have any actual set voyages, that's harder to actually expand on. But I do think that the role play will have some interesting tells there, ways for us to kind of talk to people or to set things up. I think they're going to try and make it so that if we want to kind of dress our own galleons in specific ways, or have unique things, we're going to be given more customization for not only our pirates but also for our ships as well. I think those are going to be some of the things that we're going to be getting, and I think that might be what the actual captaincy is going to look like. I think that is their goal. I think that the idea of like customizing your ship even more, or giving you more opportunities to do stuff with your pirate, expanded role play, maybe interactions with the world, or things that you can do on islands, making people walk the plank, swing from like ropes onto other ships, maybe board axes, things that they can do with season 7 and season 8, where they're adding new ways to play, and then they're expanding the role play. I think those are the two things that we're going to see kind of out of the season. And then of course we're going to be getting 3 new adventures and ongoing mysteries, as well as Emporium content, a plunder pass, and a community day for season 8. Then we get into the last season of 2022 that's going to launch in December, and this, they say they're going to offer new social options for crews. This I'm not too sure about. This seems like a very kind of general spectrum of what they're going to be talking about, and that makes sense because this is, again, like a year away, so things are going to kind of harden or crystallize like the closer and closer we get to that actual thing. Right now it's very soft and malleable. You're not really sure like what it could be. It could shape into anything. And new social opportunities for crews, to me, at least if I had to guess what that would be, I would say that is more in line with what I would expect with custom servers. New social opportunities to me says if you want to do something with people in the community, a way to do that would be with custom servers. Custom servers are going to allow for a lot more opportunities for social crews or for social groups to do things as crews. And I think the reason why we're seeing this is we're getting Pirate Legend content, and we're getting Seaforts. Those are going to allow for players to do different things and to have an expansion on the Pirate Legend content that we've been asking for. Then we have season 7, 8, and 9. Season 7 gives us new ways to play and progress. Season 8 gives us expanded role play and quest types, and then season 9 gives all of that a place to live in custom servers. So we'll have new ways to play and expanded role play, and then a custom server to play around with that. So maybe that's just me kind of looking at the end and saying, how do I get there? And then forming this as a way to say like, okay, well, the only way that it makes sense for them to have good custom servers, which is something that they've been talking about, I think, for about a year and a half now, is for them to really make sure that there's new ways to play and that there's expanded role play, and then giving us custom servers to be able to do that. So this is just kind of me talking it through and pointing to one thing. It really could be left up to anything. At this point, we really don't know a whole lot, but if I had to take a guess and I had to kind of point at one thing out in the community that everyone's been talking about, that Rare has been speaking to, that we haven't seen come to fruition yet, it is the custom servers. They've been kind of on the back burner as they've been trying to work out how seasons are going to work and how those are going to feel. And now that I feel like they have a good cadence on their art department, on their implementation, if they can get server stability down, if they can get matchmaking worked out, if they can get hit registration tightened up, I think that people will be far more inclined and more open to things like paying for custom servers when next year, or when December of 2022 comes around and season 9 offers custom servers, especially if we start finding new ways to play and expanded role play along the way. We'll have a lot more reasons and a lot more opportunities for us to really engage with each other in communities on custom servers, especially for things that I would like to do. So I've been wanting to do things with custom servers because I think it's a great opportunity for at least the Keelhauled Discord to really kind of jump on, have some fun, do some goofy stuff, and not necessarily have it be something that has to be relied upon getting multiple ships on a server and trying to do that on itself. It's really hard to do that, and it's really not as natural or organic as it used to be. So if we're going to do something that's inorganic in nature, then why not have a custom server to do that? We're also working on trying to build out our Sherpa program. That's something that I've been talking with the Sherpas. They've been communicating with themselves. We've set up a channel to be able to talk about this. And what we're looking to do is try and build a school system with different upgrades that pirates who are not familiar with Sea of Thieves, that are not Pirate Legend, are able to utilize these classes that we're going to be working on building. So you come in with a role as a freshman, and as a freshman pirate, you are going to be going through different classes to learn and understand more about Sea of Thieves and get a better bearing for what's going on. You can specialize in certain areas. So if you want to get to know how to sail a ship, rigging, different tactics that you can use in there, where to store stuff, where things are, then you can start off with those classes where they're looking to try and implement some other stuff as far as like PvP and PvE, how to understand tall tales, how to navigate around maps, how to deal with different enemy types, things like that, as well as how to board a ship, how to take down a ship, how to manage your inventory, how to make sure you can tell like when is a good time to prioritize different things on the ship as you get into battle. So that program is currently being worked on. We're going to be fleshing that out over the next a while. We don't really have a set date right now, but as we kind of understand like a little bit more about what we can do, what we can set up, and then who's interested in it, we'll start setting up things like classes and stuff like that. That is all just something that's going to be made part of the Keelhauled community. That's something that the Sherpas are going to be heading up, and they're going to be in charge of who helps out with what and who's best to help out with that, and try and get people some more information. So they're working on that program right now. As I get more information, I'll be sure to remind people as much as possible to make sure that you know to go to the Discord if that's something that you're interested in, whether you want to help teach people or whether you want to learn more. Right now it's very ramshackle. We're just kind of like, if people needs it, then they get in and do that. But I think that the goal of that is I want to get to a point where the actual community is supporting a custom server. So if if custom servers come out and they have a monthly cost or they have an annual cost or something like that, that is something that is being taken care of by the community, that is then going to end up utilizing it. So that way, if pirates do want to have ships spawned up to be able to do testing, like say you want to get better at cannon shots, and arena is no longer a thing, but you want to be able to do it in an environment where it's in a controlled environment and you don't have to worry about other people coming in and taking time away from the people who are just trying to learn or understand more about the game, then that is not a problem because of a custom server. And if that becomes something that actually happens, that's great, because it then kind of leads into the next thing, which is them getting out of the custom server, getting out of school and getting onto the seas and having a much better chance of enjoying the game and being good at the game by using the Sherpa program, and then having more fun. So that way the players that are out on the seas in an organic world are getting into better fights with more skilled pirates. And it's not either just complete sweat lords who are absolutely just dumpstering on people and talking about them in chat and having to get reported later on, or the completely fresh pirate who just barely figured out how to get off the outpost, accidentally queued up for a tall tale, has been sailing around in circles trying to spawn a megalodon or a kraken for the sake of seeing this really cool thing in the game, and ending up just getting sunk by a bunch of people who have absolutely no desire to take any of the loot or anything that they have, but just like sinking ships because arena's gone. So those are kind of the things that we're looking to do, and I'm hoping that with a year of Sea of Thieves kind of giving us this roadmap is what they're leading towards. If not, I'm really curious to see what they actually do plan on coming out with, because I think whatever they come out with is still going to be very interesting for the rest of the community. They haven't released anything that I've seen that is really just did not hit well. I still think everything that they've released this year has been something that has been interesting for the game, whether some pirates engage with it or not. Let's talk about Shrouded Islands. This is the first adventure that we're going to be jumping into, and it's going to deal with Golden Sands Outpost. The really interesting thing about this is something I've mentioned in the podcast already, is it looks absolutely destroyed. It looks like a fog has rolled in. This mysterious fog has brought with it some spectral activity. I'm assuming the Soul Flame Captains that are going to be the new threat in the game. With these Soul Flame Captains, they are going to look like the Soul Flame costume that we got back in 2020. Yeah, I believe it was 2020's Halloween event. And with these Soul Flame captains, it's very interesting to me that we're going to be kind of dealing with them, because it seems like they're not part of the Sea of the Damned normally. So I'm curious to know where they're coming from in this aspect. But Lorena is going to be much more animated. She's going to be talking to us, asking us to do stuff. And this really speaks to one of the questions, or one of the issues that we had with the game, which is that the game doesn't feel as alive as it could. NPCs don't talk to us. They don't wander around. And it looks like these are the first steps to giving us that opportunity to see the world kind of come to life, to be able to interact with NPCs the way that we would interact with each other. So I'm looking forward to seeing how well this works out. I think that Rare does a really good job of immersive storytelling when it comes to their NPCs, especially when you look at the tall tales and starting those up. I know a lot of people tend to throw the dagger down on the tall tale and run off because they don't care about it. But the first time you get into these things, you usually sit around and experience it. And that's something that I think everyone's going to want to do. So I think this will be something that gets initiated, and she won't be bugging you the whole time, because it would be kind of weird every time you're like running in and out of the tavern. She's like, oh, hey, wait, did you, can I tell you about Golden Sands? No. Okay. All right. Well, I'll just stand here, eat mangoes, and look pretty. So I'm looking forward to this. I think it's going to be really great. The one thing that I haven't heard anyone talking about this, and it's the one that I keep wanting to bring up, because again, this is going to start on February 17th. So I don't know about you, but if you have an opportunity, I would start working on those Flameheart commendations, the one where you have to destroy Flameheart's fleet ship, as soon as possible, because from what I can tell, based on what I heard in the video, they seem to be suggesting that when this adventure comes, Flameheart's world event will be leaving, not permanently, but for the time. And I don't have confirmation on this, but I do have the clip from the actual video itself. So I want to play the audio for you. I'll let you be the judge of it. You decide if you think that Flameheart is going to be leaving as a world event, and we will be getting the adventure. And then as soon as the adventure's done, he may be coming back, and you may be able to work on those commendations again. So I'm going to plug it in right here, and you tell me what you think.
So at this point in time, when the first adventure starts, we'll see that Flameheart has ominously retreated after all of this time in the Sea of Thieves.
So yeah, just my opinion. If you have to do those Flameheart commendations in the, gosh, what was it? The Order of Souls reputation, go check there. You can do the captain skulls from the fleets. You can destroy the fleets, or you can destroy the ghost ships with the fleets. The two things that I don't think that are going to be easily done are taking out Flameheart's ship and getting the cursed cannonballs, or the phantom balls, the really big ones with the head. I don't think you're going to be able to get those any other way unless they introduce them in this adventure, which, if they did, I would not be surprised, because again, there's Flameheart commendations that tie to specific things, destroying his ship, as well as the cannon, or the phantom balls that you get when you do destroy his ship. You get that crate, and it gives you the flame ones and the regular ones, and then the big ones. I would not be surprised if this was something that was coming to this first adventure, because they did talk about there being spectral stuff. And I wanted to take a quick moment to read you guys an idea that I had, that I posted way back in the day. This is something that I shared with Mike Chapman. It was an idea that I had that I wanted to give to them, just as like a cool idea of what I thought the Curse Sales event was going to be. It was never anything that got close to what they were planning to do. Obviously, we found out what they were planning to do, but it was one of those things where I was thinking about what they were going to do in that first year, and I was really excited, and I came up with these really interesting ideas, to at least interesting to me. And at that point, I decided to text it all to him. I sent it in a direct message. He was very kind about it, and was willing to sit there and be like, oh yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing this. And nothing ever came from it. So I wasn't too heartbroken about it, but it's always been something that was like in the back of my mind. This is what I would love to see come to the actual game. So back when the curse sales had come out, I was thinking about how weekly events and stuff could return as those curse sales events. So this was the idea that I had that I sent to him. This was sent back on June 17th of 2018. So this was called Cursed Sales Weekly Event Returns. This was my second idea. You thought you had bested the cursed pirates captains on the seas, but they're back for revenge. The damned can never be stopped, but you must find a way. The reprise of the Curse Sales weekly event. Outposts have come under attack from vengeful skeleton captains, and they're hitting us where it hurts most, your pockets. With the seas tamed, these captains are now quote-unquote parked at random outposts with ships that you will have to take down so that you can quote-unquote make port to rescue the merchants who are fighting for their lives and homes. This will be a single crew weekly event that will challenge crews to take on skeleton ships that have taken over one of the outposts in each of the seas, the ancient isles, the shores of plenty, and the wilds. The cursed ships will begin a barrage of shots at oncoming pirate ships, forcing pirates to make the choice, leave the outpost area and travel to another outpost, or help the vendors under siege and lay waste to the skeletons now inhibiting the outpost. If pirates decide to take up the call to arms and gun down the ships, forcing it into a state where the cannoneers are gone, then they can make landfill and start dispatching the skeletons present till the captain appears to get his revenge. Crews, let's see, where was I? Crews will need to defeat the captain, quote, or in parentheses, depending on the crew size, they will need to fight multiple captains, end parentheses, forcing a retreat back to the depths of the sea. Once the day is saved, the merchants will be able to return to their normal lives free from the threats of death, besides the ones caused by homemade grog at the local tavern. Pirates will have their, no, what was this? What did it say? Threats of the death caused by homemade grog at the local tavern. Pirates will have their rewards. There are two ideas for rewards here that provide a chance for pirates to capitalize on taking the risk. The first reward is the better in my opinion, but I can see it being abused more easily. Any treasure that a ship has on board when defeating the skeleton captain will grant double reputation and double gold when turned in. This adds the element of risk to the situation. The more you have on you, the better reward you'll receive, but you can lose it all in a fight and never get a chance to turn in your spoils. The second option is directed towards the pirates who don't have anything to turn in, but still want an alternate means of earning reputation. This will be in the form of commendations for each vendor, from each vendor, who will reward a percentage. And bear in mind, this was pretty early. Yeah, I mean, we're talking June 2018. This was before curse sales and what was it called? Forsaken Shores. Where was I? This will be in the form of commendations from each vendor who will reward a percentage base of reputation for saving their lives. This was kind of what we got with the letters of recommendation, now that I think about it. Players can choose the commendations and still turn loot in without the double gold and reputation. The one change during this week will be to open Merchant Alliance quests to allow for alternate outpost locations, each in opposite directions, making sure that people who aren't interested in saving outposts under siege aren't punished by picking Merchant Alliance quests during the weekly event. Spawn locations will take into consideration when outposts are being sieged, so that new pirates or pirates logging into a session will immediately come under fire. So this was an idea that I sent back to Mike Chapman back in 2018, before we got Bilge Rat Adventures, just after we got the Hungering one. I had two other ideas that I shared with him. I'm gonna keep those under my hat in case that this stuff comes to fruition again. But this was the idea that I basically thought would be really, really cool. A good way to have like curse sales events kind of redo. Now, as we look at the year 2022. Golden Sands Outpost is under siege and the vendors are not there, and it is incumbent upon us to go relieve Golden Sands Outpost of whatever spectral event is going on over there. So I don't know if this is my idea come to light or if other people had this idea as well. I'm sure other people have had this idea. It's not that hard of a thing to come up with. But if this is something that comes to the game, if this is what actually happens, I'll be so happy, because it was something that I've wanted for the game for a long time. I've wanted to have more interaction with the actual vendors, more interaction with the outposts. They always seem like a relatively safe place to be for the most part outside of other pirates. And I always thought, when Curse Sales came in, we got that banner that got stapled, or not stapled, but posted at the outposts, letting us know when ship fleets were going to be active and what crew types they were going to be active of. So we knew like where we had to go or when they were going to be active. We had to go defeat the fleets back when Curse Sales first came out. And that was always a really cool moment, because every time you got to an outpost and you went to go turn in treasure, you had to run by these giant posts that had a skeleton on them. And for a good few weeks there, it always kind of freaked me out as I ran by, because I would always forget that they're there, and they would snarl and growl, kind of like the skeleton that's at the Reaper's bones emissary table at outposts, and it always used to freak me out every time I ran by. So I always loved that, but that was always something it was just a moment in time kind of thing. So if you missed it, you never got a chance to do it. But if we're getting something like the Cursed Sales weekly event that I sent to Mike forever ago, in the form of a Shrouded Isles adventure, I'll be really happy about that, because it sounds so cool. It sounds like such an awesome thing for us to be able to experience, and I'm hoping that's kind of what happens. I think it'd be really awesome. So that's kind of it for the first thing. It's really exciting to kind of see how things are progressing. I'm glad that we're seeing the story progressing. So going back to the original thought behind, I started kind of talking about what would be coming with Shrouded Isles. Again, I do think that we are going to be losing Flameheart. I think he's going to be leaving. I think it's going to be temporary, but I do want to at least let you know right now, you should really, really, really consider taking some time before the next update, or before the first adventure starts, to try and knock out some of those Flameheart fleets. Everyone talks about how they've done them a dozen times, so it shouldn't be an issue, but unless they actually bring in some of those cannon crates, and if they do something like the spectral ships parked at the outpost in lieu of the skeleton ships that I thought would be a good idea, then that would be a way for you to earn those crates of cannon balls, the phantom balls, to be able to use those for those commendations. I think that would be a really good thing. And then of course, if the island is come under fire and you do have to take out the ship, it would make sense to have Flameheart's flagship be the one that you have to take down to help out with that commendation, to try and rejigger or kind of twist a little bit of what is a current world event by making the same commendations available to you through a new type of event. So you're really kind of putting it on its head. You're kind of flipping it on its head and coming up with a new way to get those commendations and keeping things fresh. And if that's the case, I really like that. I'm all for that. Let me have a way to do commendations for a world event that come in a different form, whether it be me having to take on waves and waves of skeletons to fight like one or two skeleton lords. But play around with the idea. Don't make it so that it's just one skeleton lord on there. Make it two skeleton lords with no skeletons, and we have some sort of thing in the Ferry of the Damned where or in the Sea of the Damned where we don't take damage, but it's just a rush against time, and we're having to stop them from something. There's so many ideas you could come up with to try and remake some of these old events and try and freshen them up and still let people work on the commendations, or create new commendations that kind of expand it. Like we have commendations going to grade 5. There's no reason why you can't have another one go up to grade 10 and have like an expansion of that. It just depends. Look at the analytics, see what's popular, see what people like to finish, look at the ones that haven't been finished, and start trying to cater things to reshape some of those ones that are less fun or less engaged with, and try and make those a little more interesting for people to want to engage with it. Everyone wants to do Pirate Legend content, but there isn't anything really engaging about the current Pirate Legend content, which is exactly why I think they're going about adding these new voyages that will be repeatable, or unique, repeatable voyages for Pirate Legends to jump into and explore and have fun with. That's exactly what they should be doing with the content, making the game replayable to a point where you aren't feeling like you're doing the same old thing, even though it's exactly what you're doing. It's the same old thing, but it's not. It's a little twist, you know? Get a little twist in there. The last thing that we got as a result of the Sea of Thieves preview event for 2022 was a dive into the newest lore character that is coming to the Sea of Thieves in the form of Belle, Legend of the Deep. This is a character we've talked a little bit about in the past and really has not had an opportunity to shine. She was, from what I understand, originally in place of Ramses, the Pirate Lord, when the game was in its early stages of development. For unknown reasons, maybe story lore, things like that, they decided to move Belle away from that position, and she has been kind of MIA in Sea of Thieves since then. One of the interesting things about this is that Belle has actually been a statue that they've had at E3 in the past, and subsequently moved away from when they brought in Flameheart as well as the Gold Hoarder for subsequent. Or actually, did we get a Flameheart statue? I feel like we did. Maybe we didn't. Maybe it was always the Gold Hoarder. I know we had Marco and Lassetti, but I can't remember who else was a statue. But regardless, Belle was on a Sea of the Damned buoy that they used to kind of introduce her in the video, which I love, because it's always been that feeling of like she's always been this mysterious character who's been on a Sea of the Damned buoy. I remember when the game came out, they always had photos of that statue in the lobby at the studio, and I always wondered like who that was, because she was never in the game, she was never talked about, or anyone knew anything about her. And it wasn't until we found out that her name was Belle that it started to get a little more unraveled. So Belle, Legend of the Deep, is coming to Sea of Thieves. It's really exciting that this is happening. She's coming from the Sea of the Damned. She's wearing a necklace that has the hippocampus, that is the creature, the mythological sea horse that is part of the Ferry of the Damned architecture, as well as the Fort of the Damned. It's not a typical hippocampus that I've seen in like Greek mythology, where it is just an actual horse. This is an undead one, and it has a unicorn horn for some reason. So it's not exactly like a typical hippocampus that you would see in most aspects, but based on the figurehead description, when you actually get the Ferry of the Damned figurehead, it does actually refer to the creature as a hippocampus. So for all intents and purposes, anytime you see the undead seahorse with the unicorn, you can just assume that is something to do with the Sea of the Damned, and whatever creature or person is tied to that is either a specter or a phantom or a revenant, which, if you're not sure what the revenants are, the revenants actually are described in the Sea of Thieves books from the RPG books. So if you've been playing the RPG, or if you bought them on theirs, in the actual book, it speaks to the mysterious strangers, both Gloria and what's his name? George? I think it's George. Speaks to them as revenants, which are bodies inhabited by spiritual beings that are not they may actually be the original bodies, but they may not be the original bodies as well too. But Belle has the glowing eyes, which is the pirate legend curse, which we don't have a way to get in the game since the season that it came out with. But she has the glowing eyes, very much like the mysterious strangers in the taverns, and thus is assumed to be a revenant from the Sea of the Damned. So it'll be interesting to see what role she plays. It seems like she will definitely be playing the part of protagonist, which I'm very excited for. I'm looking forward to seeing like what is going to happen with her. She feels very much like a Mary Poppins to me, to the point where I even memed it as her kind of floating into the Sea of the Thieves, using one of the the actual what's it called? One of the actual covers of the movie for Mary Poppins. I went and changed it and added Belle and Flameheart and little candles and changed the tone and stuff, and made my own little version of Mary Poppins with Belle, Legend of the Deep, floating in to save the day. And I'm welcome to that. You know, it seems like we've got some great introduction with some of these original characters. Like Arthur Pendragon is a great addition to the world. I really love him in this sense. Wanda the Warsmith or the Warsmith has proven to be a very great character to try and push forward this narrative of evil. Flameheart has always been looming, but it hasn't quite fit his role quite yet. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Belle shapes up. It's nice to have someone that we can look forward to beyond just the normal pirate legend or pirate lord Ramses himself. It'll be nice to have someone to kind of talk to about other stuff and see if she is someone as a revenant who can exist in the world beyond just the pirate legend tavern or near. When like for example in the video we got to see the Veil of Ancients or the mask that you put the little gemstones in, having that as a way to have Ramses be connected to the world outside of the pirate legend tavern, as well as like for example the Maiden Voyage is a very magical laden area. It has the wreck of the Magpie's Wing, which is some of the reasons why the pirate lord is able to be on that island for a certain amount of time while he's kind of introducing pirates to the Sea of Thieves and stuff. But without the Veil of Ancients, it doesn't seem like he's able to be around outside of the Pirate Legend Tavern. As Belle is a revenant, I kind of pushed to the idea that she will be able to move around the Sea of Thieves with the necklace of the hippocampus being the way that is tying her soul to the Sea of the Damned, while also being able to maintain some sort of kind of a form in the Sea of Thieves. So that's kind of the like how I have to explain things, a way to understand like what we're seeing and why we're able to see it and kind of work it out. I always love it when Rare can kind of take us on a bit of a story, a lore thing to kind of explain this. Hopefully this is something that is actually explained in game. I know Caleb really cannot read, so I worry if this is something that is used as external expanded universe in like some of the novels, or if more comic books come out. I really hope they explain this in game so that people getting to meet Belle outside of keeping up with the lore, or listening to a podcast or watching a video, will find out who she is and why she's going to be important to the Sea of Thieves. And not leave it to something like Caleb not being able to read. So I'm really excited for that, as you can imagine, and I'm looking forward to getting into that. We're 10 days away. We're a week away basically from being able to find out more about this adventure, and I'm really, really excited to see that. There's not too much else to really dive into with this video. It was a 20-minute video and I managed to talk about it for over an hour. So, you know, kudos to my ability to wax poetic about things and just keep talking about them, even though I don't really need to, but I think that's going to do it for this. We've got the February 11th podcast episode. The adventure begins on February 17th. Season 6 kicks off on March 10th. Arena is closing on March 10th, and I would expect Flameheart to go away on the 17th of February. There's no news right now as far as if there's going to be any Golden Glory or Twitch drops coming up in the near future, so always keep your eye out on the social media spots for those, or in the Discord when you see the posts go live for those. Also, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I can't think of if there's anything else really going around right now that you would need to be aware of. So I'll leave it at that, Pirates. If you want to get a hold of me, there's plenty of ways to do that. You can reach out to me over on Twitter at CAPT_LOGUN. You can always write into the podcast at the email CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com for the podcast. If you want to write your stories and stuff, I'll be happy to read those out on the podcast. If you want to talk with us or the rest of the Keelhauled community, the Discord is always available. You can always join the Discord and say hi to everyone as we kind of work things out with the Sherpa program and things like that. And if you have time and it matters to you, it does matter to me, head over to Spotify and rate us at 5 stars, or head over to iTunes and give us a 5-star rating and a review. All of those are great ways to help kind of make sure that Sea of Thieves podcasts are kept up to date with accurate reviews of people, how they feel about it, what's going on and stuff like that. And again, if you have any questions or feelings or things like that, feel free to share them with me. I don't always do stuff that folks request or suggest to me, because I have a very set idea of what I would like to have things happen with the show and things like that, but I'm always open to suggestions and willing to have anyone share their ideas with me and stuff. So hopefully, pirates, you enjoyed this episode. I had a really good time digging through this video. It was something that I've been wanting to do for a bit, and make sure that I give you guys some in-depth analysis on what we got, and talk about some of the theories that I think are coming that I haven't seen really bounce around too much. So pirates, with that, thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.
You've been listening to a Robots Radio podcast. Smart shows for interesting people. Check out all the shows at robotsradio.net.
Hey there, my name's Jameson, or Big Cat.
And I am Brenna, or Mother Goose.
And together, we are the hosts of the DL Weekly Gaming News.
Each week, we bring you the top stories from last week, as well as something you might have missed.
Our goal is to start a conversation about what's going on in the world of gaming.
And every week, we have a special guest join us in the chat room, where we discuss a different gaming-related topic and learn more about our guests in the 60-second download.
And if that isn't enough, we also have Slim Jims.
So come and hang out with us every week and join in on the conversation.
Good luck and have fun, everybody.
And remember, keep your goose loose.
Hey Simone,
Yes, Chad.
what would you say is your favorite bad movie?
Oh, where would I start? But probably at zombie strippers.
Oh yeah, which we've actually done on our podcast, Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast. This is a podcast where we take some of the worst movies ever created, and even some of those movies that you might have thought were brilliant, but still got a bad critic score, and we say nice things about them, because you know what? Someone put the effort in, so we're gonna be there, fighting in their corner.
Absolutely, Chad. Even if the movie was total garbage, there are some makeup artists that gave it their all, and we're here to recognize that.
Exactly, and with really fun themes every week, such as National Treasure Week, Weddings Week, movies with Jeremy Irons and dragons in them. How could you go wrong by joining us every Tuesday and Thursday for some optimism in your life?
And like we say at the end of every episode, we love you and there's nothing you can do about it.
We love you and there's nothing you can do about it. Goodbye!
Bye!